Hello, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer. Today, we're talking about the first metal 3D printer in space, continuous interesting things happening with Desktop Metal, a few updates of our own, and then a special guest today talking about the YouTube channel. We've got Chris, who pretty much heads up the YouTube channel, joining me here today, and you guys have actually seen him in previous videos. So yeah, we hope to just kind of break down the kind of plans for the YouTube channel, what we've been doing, and what we're kind of planning on doing. Chris, give just a little bit of background about yourself here too, just before we get started, before we dive into news.
Yeah. So my name is Chris Beltran. Like Gabe said, I do marketing and digital media here at Slant 3D. Been with the company for about 2.5 years now, going on 3. It's been here a while. So
Chris is one of the old souls.
Yeah, exactly. Seen a lot of things here.
You came when we were at Print Farm Beta, and we're part of the move, the whole thing the last couple of years where we've really been breaking loose. So Chris has seen the best and the worst.
Yes.
I think you're one of the longest term employees here, right, so far. Cool.
That's pretty good.
We're Chris is here because we want to dive into the YouTube channel quite a bit here on this show. And we want to talk about our process, some of the things that we've been doing. But before all that, just the news of the day. Let's see. First thing up. Fred Ibrahimi and his wife have acquired 3 million shares of Stratasys. This gives him an ownership of 5.13% of Stratasys outstanding common stock. And apparently he's buying it for about $47 million. This matches Stratasys' value of about 2014 when they were about $13 per share. They were up about 10% from 2014, which is $13 per share. And the reason this is all interesting, and the reason none of us have ever heard of this guy before, but kind of know about him, and the reason this story almost didn't make it into the podcast today, is because he also owns a large share of Desktop Metal, almost 15%. And we were talking about this before the show, and I was like, I don't want to talk about Desktop Metal, but like normal, there's really not that much else going on right now. So here we are talking about Desktop Metal. Chris, how many times have we gone through? I ran about this a bunch, but we've talked about Desktop Metal probably like the last every other week.
Yeah,
I think we do.
Yeah, it's been at least, I would say, probably 3 other episodes where specifically Desktop Metal and Stratasys, like this whole deal that's been going on. It's been a very recurring topiip.
Yes, it's the one piece of drama in the whole industry that everybody keeps on coming back to.
Right.
But it is interesting because this guy, he's acquiring so much of each one of these companies that it is obvious. A 15% share of any public company is a lot of that company. That is a large amount of voting power on the board, because almost nobody ever owns 15% of any public company because they're just too big. So he basically has large voting interest on the whole thing. So he's got a huge voting interest over on Desktop Metal, and he has now an increasing interest with the potential partner for Desktop Metal that fell through before. Right. So even though they couldn't get along or get the deal closed before, the threshold for the stock market is if you cross 9%, you turn into like activist investor, or like you have to really disclose it and talk about it because you have such a controlling interest in a company. Right. This looks like, if I was a speculating person, I would, again, not financial advice. We may own holdings in any of the companies that we talk about. This is for entertainment purposes only. But in the context of this, it looks like he could probably acquire enough Stratasys to where he basically can force the two companies to come together, or force that conversation to happen again. And he's certainly incentivized to do so because Desktop Metal is trying to get to profitability, and Stratasys wanted to do it, and Nano Dimension was messing up the deal. But if he's able to keep on acquiring stock there, he can basically make what happens just as a big old rich guy. Make it happen when the company's just going to do it themselves before. So it is interesting in that context because he owns so much of Desktop Metal, and there's no reason to own that much of Stratasys itself if you're really playing on the hype of 3D printing and that kind of thing. So
Right.
I'll bet he's going to start throwing his weight around. And I would not be surprised if over the next few weeks or months, we start seeing more reports of this happening. So we're going to get to talk about this more and more on this podcast.
Yeah, it never ends.
But yeah, the Desktop Metal thing has just been interesting because they've been around for so long and they were almost a fraud. But then they actually ship stuff and now they're fine and they're a real company and all the rest of it. And now they're trying to figure out how to stay in survival mode as everybody gets hit in the industry.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So is he, he's not like an investment firm or anything like that, right?
No.
He's just a guy.
Yeah, he's just a dude. I actually don't know where did he come from. No, he's just a dude. I don't know how he made his money. Yeah, don't have that in the notes. That'd be good to know. But yeah, he's now owns more of Stratasys than Vanguard or BlackRock. And BlackRock is like a huge private equity firm. They manage like trillions of dollars of stuff.
Huge.
So they could own more if they wanted to, but they don't. So this rich guy's coming through. In the article, they call him a millionaire. So maybe he's not a billionaire, but it only takes a few $100 million to be able to throw around 50 million and put it someplace. But yeah, I have no idea where he came from.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder what his allure to the 3D printing industry is, or if he just is tech in general, or if he's more manufacturing, or what.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to know there, actually. I'm going to Google this as we go into even the other stuff here. But no, I don't know. The fact that he's been on board with Desktop Metal, he's been part of their whole company for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
So he would have been riding the wave and drinking the Kool-Aid really early on.
Yeah.
But I'll bet it's less of an interest in the industry and more of an interest in protecting the Desktop Metal thing.
Oh,
because Stratasys, like they say, he bought Stratasys at basically 2014 price, which is low given the context of where the 3D printing industry is. We're way beyond where we were since 2014. Though at the same time, I don't think Stratasys has had a big increase in like revenue since 2014. Really, I think they got like the COVID bump where they were making good money there, like everybody else. But I don't think they had like wild growth since then that would justify a higher valuation other than just the increase from inflation and that kind of thing. I don't know. He's certainly getting a deal on Stratasys for normal valuation, but as an investment, Stratasys isn't really a growth stock. It's never been a growth stock where you're like, yeah, we're going to make a bunch of money on this in the next 6 months.
Right.
But
it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It will. And I think I'll bet there'll be more of this because like when I was checking like the balance sheet of a few of these guys, a lot of them have more machinery than what the company is valued as. So their actual assets are more valuable than what stock is trading at, which is an inefficiency in the market generally. Most of them also lose like $1 million every month. So it's might not be an inefficiency in the world, but they have real physical stuff. So like if they went bankrupt, you could sell all this stuff for more than what you could buy the stock for. So you could almost buy the whole company, liquidate it, and make money off of that. If you just bought it, shut it down, and then sold the machinery. So a lot of the 3D printing companies are kind of in that mode right now to where it's like kind of silly that they're as low as they are. But I think that might be kind of like a misunderstanding of a lot of investors, like considering them like tech startups where it's like their software, where if they shut down, the software becomes useless. Whereas with manufacturing companies, if they shut down, they're not immediately useless. They have stuff in the closet, and materials and all this stuff. So they have value other than intellectual property and team. And Desktop Metal has always kind of parlayed itself as like an Uber startup, fast growth kind of a company. So a lot of investors might just not understand that and think like, oh, 3D printing, it's basically software or something like that.
Right.
But Which wouldn't be surprising that Wall Street doesn't know very much about manufacturing. There's not very many big Fortune 500 manufacturing-led companies unless you count like Tesla. But Tesla is also considered like a software stock because everybody's betting on self-driving with that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Denver, Eber Ohami he founded a software publishing company named Quark. And it was sold in 2011 for an undisclosed sum. So yeah, he could be a billionaire. It's 2011.
So software publishing, that would be like, were they like buying software off of people? How does that even work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't know.
Yeah, that's it seems weird.
I think, they would probably be like acquiring individual softwares and helping with the distribution of them.
Okay.
Yes. Software distribution is kind of like an interesting term, but it'd be like I imagine it's like a game studio where it's like they have the game designer who made the game, and then they handle all the distribution and logistics of actually getting it out there and distributing it. So like Steam is a software distributor or publisher.
Okay.
I don't know what Quark did or any of the rest of it there, but a middleman who's finding good software and packaging it up and then like selling it to a company. Like, here is all of your bookkeeping softwares that we got from these 10 different companies. Okay. It might be something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But anyhow, Desktop Metal, a lot of stuff going on. And Nano Dimensional, go throw in a bid, all the rest of it here in 2 weeks, and we'll all keep on hoorahing. But anyhow, other news, metal 3D printer going to space. Airbus and a company named AddUp have developed for the European Space Agency what they claim to be the first metal 3D printer in space. We didn't write this copy. We got this copy from, this is via TTT.
That's not true.
Whenever a company claims something, you have to say the company claims it. But it's fairly easy to say that there's no other metal 3D printers in space because there's only one place to go. You could say like, oh, maybe the Chinese space station has a metal 3D printer we don't know about, but now we know about it. So this is the first metal 3D printer in space, and I'm willing to put that stake in the ground and be sued for libel in the future. If somebody said, well, technically, there's another 3D printer to cover ourselves on that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, they took a metal 3D printer up there. It is a wire EDM machine. And it's for testing, metal printing for like future Moon and Mars missions, as they all do, as well as on-orbit manufacturing. They want to see how zero-G affects the actual printing of metal parts and that kind of thing. And quite frankly, zero-G should be fantastic because no support material, theoretically, or we'll find out.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, should be super efficient and easy. Though at the same time, without gravity, I wonder, the first 3D printer to go up was in 2013. It was made by a company named Made in Space, and it was an FDM one. I don't know if there were ever any studies published of like not having gravity messing with like layer adhesion, because you'd have to jack with that because it can't fall onto the print or even like press into it. I wonder if the zero-G mess with it in some kind of a way there because it's not forced together by just the little bit of gravity that exists.
Yeah, I feel like it would take more of a more force, more of a push.
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah. You could probably get away with just increasing the extrusion rate, but still, I wonder how much of a difference it made being in zero-G. I'm going to bet not much, but some. But yeah, we when we were discussing this before the show, we were talking about how much it probably cost to make the printer. And the Made in Space machine was basically like a modified MakerBot when they made it, where at the time it was a standard like rep wrap machine that they'd put in a box. But with all of these space devices, it's not even really the experiment that's so tough to do. It's all the stuff around the experiment. Because to put like a wire EDM, very hot device that is forging metal on the space station, closing that thing off so it can't catch fire to this very delicate environment out there is what makes it so expensive, because you have to go through and make this super tough box. You have to filter all the air coming in and going out, and make sure there's no particulates or outputs or VOCs that can possibly get into the actual environmental systems. So hardening these things to be used in space safely is almost a bigger job than actually making the thing. The printer's like a solved problem.
Yeah.
And if you're we were looking at the photos. And I said that this looks like a 5-year-old EDM machine, which probably was.
Yeah.
I think that's just for stability because they well, it's understood. You can't do cutting edge stuff in space because you don't know what it'll do.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an
Good point.
unfortunate situation. But yeah. I don't know what their experiments are going to be. It will be interesting to see what parts they actually make. Because I'm going to bet they're going to be reasonably underwhelming. But it's going to be like 6 months before we see those two because it's going to take that long to unpack them. It's always stupid slow setting these things up. So it's probably, it'll probably be like 6 months before we see the machine run, I'll bet.
And actually like doing something.
Yeah. It's launching on the 30th, so yesterday. But it'll take it like a week to get up there and get docked. And then it takes like 2 weeks to unload the thing. And then they reload the thing with garbage. And that's the first kind of a job. And then they start unpacking experiments. And there's whatever other hundreds of experiments going in. So it's just going to be forever before they even plug this thing in.
Yeah.
And then it's also tightly controlled and qualified and set through that it's just a slow process.
Right.
There's a ton of stuff to do, but it's just slow. Especially with the ISS. But it'll be cool to see though, because nobody actually has printed anything in space. And there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with this. And Made in Space, the company that did the first 3D printer, was working on trying to do like huge gantries and trusses and that kind of stuff, like grown to build like spines for space stations. That was their big old goal. Okay. They were sold off in 2020 because they were basically a research lab and they always get sold. But they were trying to build big stuff, and like the orbital construction is starting to kind of pick up again. So people need to know how to put stuff together in orbit other than bolting it together. Plus, cool space story, side space story, totally unrelated to 3D printing. On the first spacewalk, they stepped out of the door, the first U.S. spacewalk, because this was, it was, I can't remember if the Russians also had this problem. But on the first spacewalk, the guys stepped out of the capsule and did their walk around, and they couldn't get back in at first because the door had welded shut. And the reason the door had welded shut is because if metals are not in atmosphere and they touch, they immediately bond together. So the only reason that like aluminum doesn't just like melt into other aluminum is because it has an oxide layer on the outside. All the oxygen in the atmosphere creates this little veneer on it to where it doesn't cause a problem. But what they happened was when they opened up the door that had been made down on Earth and worked fine, they scratched it and scraped it. And then when they went and closed it again, it scraped back together. And those perfectly bare pieces of metal touched each other and welded the door shut. Super unhandy. And super scary for a minute because they had to just heave-ho to get the door open. But it was this weird kind of feature of metals that nobody had ever really observed before, because metals don't stick together, of course. We all know this. But in space, they do, which totally changes the way you build stuff again, though, too. Because now instead of screwing things together, you just like touch them and they're stuck permanently. So it's a really cool thing. Super dangerous. You got to design all kinds of terrible things about it, but really cool thing in the world.
Yeah, space is every time I hear a new thing about space, it just amazes me more and more every time.
Oh, it's so funky. There's the amount of companies doing nifty stuff with it right now, and since it's got so cheap to go up, and it's going to get cheaper, there's just nifty things coming down. I think there's a space company down in California called Varda Space Systems, and they are going to try to do the first like manufactured good return like this year or next year or something like that, where they're just going to throw up a satellite. The satellite's going to mix together a couple chemicals, and then they're going to get back whatever they mixed together. And they're trying to make like pharmaceuticals or fiber optic cables or something like that long term. But just trying to build a little space factory that you can send stuff up. It uses microgravity to do whatever it's got to do, and then you land in the thing and can actually sell the materials.
Interesting. Wait, so are they sending materials up there to be assembled into some? Okay.
Yeah, it's like a little chemistry set inside of like a capsule that looks like the old Apollo things or something like that. They just send it up. It mixes in microgravity. Because then you can do, I don't know, you can grow whatever structure you want to get grown up there because it doesn't fall or something. And then they're going to take that little sample and return it. I think their first ones, they're trying to make like some sort of uh, not structure, but lattice or something there that the pharmaceutical industry needs to a catalyst. They're trying to create some sort of catalyst that can only come together in 0G, and then land it back down so that then you can then use that resultant thing in regular manufacturing of like really high grade drugs and that kind of thing. But yeah, all the space stuff is getting really nifty. And yeah, that whole launch will cost them. No, it'll cost them like 50. No, I think it cost them like $1 million. I think they grabbed a spot on like a Falcon 9, but it still cost $1 million or so. But yeah.
Stuff ain't cheap.
Yeah, no, it ain't cheap. It's cheaper, but it ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyhow. Okay. Company updates. Tangled filament. Quick update on Tangled filament. We talked about this a little bit last week, how our extruder broke because one of the heating collars around the die went out. We grabbed all the ones on eBay that were remotely closely sized to the ones that we want because almost like so much of industrial equipment, a lot of it's kind of bespoke or at least very low volume. So our extruder is like one of 50 of that version that was built or one of a couple hundred, whatever it was. There's not a lot of spare parts. So we found the spare parts we thought we could fit. This week, we're trying to jerry rig a couple of those to actually be viable. But they're really fragile. So we're not sure we're going to get away with it. We're working on pulling a couple other levers. So a few of those 4kg orders and the print farm spools that everybody's been ordering, more of those will be going out. And of course, we're maintaining the hobbyist subscriptions and that kind of stuff for everybody there to make sure that you're getting your stuff on subscription because we knew you were coming. So there's some stock gaps in that. That being said, again, if you have a timetable on your filaments, absolutely call us, get a refund or whatever it was so that we can get you refunded and you can get your filament that you want. But we do appreciate all you guys' support as we go through this hump because it literally, like the day after we released that launch and started making it, the machine broke down and we didn't have these spare parts around. And they're a part that shouldn't really burn out, but here we are. We did last week get an order in to the original manufacturer, who is Chinese, for them to make us 10 replacements of this part and 5 replacements of another part similar to it. And those are in progress right now. But if for our perfect timing in the whole world, 3 days from now is Chinese New Year, which goes for like 2 or 3 weeks. So it ain't going to ship fast. So we have also pulled a few US manufacturers to make this stupid heat collar for us, which will be expensive, but it's our job to get this machine fixed. But also they are all telling me 4 weeks for this stuff too, which we're getting done, but we hope it won't be 4 weeks. And we're hoping to find another solution. So the expectation right at the moment is that we should be able to, we think reasonably confident, tentatively confident, we're lukewarm, that we can jerry rig one of these things here to get most of the batch done, ideally here within the next week. And we'll continue to update you guys on that. But something else might go wrong. So worst case scenario is looking like 4 to 5 weeks to get all those orders out, which we did not intend to have this turn into a pre-order campaign, but that's apparently what it's kind of turning into. So yeah, do reach out to us if that worst case timeline isn't viable for you, because we definitely want to get you guys refunded if you need it and that kind of thing. Because the whole point of it is totally useless to people if we have cheap filament, but you have no idea when it's going to be available or if it's going to be available, and certainly not if it ships late after you order it. So this is on us, and we got to get this fixed just as soon as possible, and make sure that it can't happen anymore. Hence why we're ordering 5 to 10 replacements of all of these pieces, so that there's no possibility that this is the thing to break us. But after that, the screw's probably going to snap in half or something like that. And then we'll have to go get one of those made and all the rest of it. So we are chasing down all those other parts too. But that's the overall status of where Tangled is right now. for the Tangled testing channel, we actually had a content meeting about this yesterday with Chris and I and Natalia, who were all on content team, laying out the other channel. So we should have videos dropping on that other channel and kind of an announcement, reveal, and that kind of stuff coming down next week. Middle of next week? Are we thinking middle of next week?
Maybe closer towards the weekend.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because we got Super Bowl stuff and all the other things. So there's a lot of stuff happening next week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I guess we do have Super Bowl. So maybe middle of next week. Yeah.
Yeah. It's coming soon. We'll have stuff over there. With the Tangled channel, we're really the goal of the Tangled channel is to get testing data out there, just all the variations that we possibly can. But at the same time, guys, we have to make sure that it's really, really sustainable. So we are harping hard on the monetization of this whole one. So there will be affiliate links and sponsored spots and all the things. Yeah, the Tangled testing channel is going to have a lot of ads. Hopefully not intrusive, but there's going to be ads because we got to pay for this in order to pay for this. Otherwise, it's going to be a project that we'll have to leave at some point. In order to make it sustainable, it's got to be sustainable. And that means money. But yeah, we're working with a number of work with more filament manufacturers to both test their stuff and show it on the channel. But also we're just going to do all kinds of tests. So a lot of Tangled testing will be kind of split between semi-entertainment versus like deep testing and that kind of stuff. As we're waiting for the tensile testing machine from the Kickstarter to come in, it will bias more towards just kind of entertainment or the crushing type videos that we've done before, just a little bit more formalized. But no, they should be fun, and that'll be coming out soon, starting next week. Updates. Are there any other projects that we're working on, Chris? Oh, STL files.
Yes.
Yes. We're going to start trying to release STL files and prints of more of the parts on the channel and try to get those packaged up and moved around. More on that later. But yeah, that's kind of coming down next week too, isn't it? Man, we did a bunch of content stuff here this January that's coming out in the 1st of February. I forgot just how much there is.
Yeah.
We got too much time on our hands. Yeah.
We're hitting the ground running this year.
Yeah. But cool. So yeah, that's general updates about everything else. So discussion topic. 0 to 70,000 subscribers in a year. Because we just passed 70,000. So thank you guys all very much for that. Thank you for watching. And we're amazed that this many people want to watch this stuff, quite frankly. Yeah. Our goal last year for December was like 25. Was it 25 by October or was it 25 by December?
It was 25 by December. Yeah, by end of the year. Yeah.
Man.
Well, yeah, by Christmas season because we knew we were going to slow down during Christmas anyway.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it was kind of like before we had to just stop on stuff. But we didn't even really slow down. We slowed down during Christmas season, but the channel didn't really slow down during Christmas season. Not
too much. We found stuff to the testing videos were kind of came at the perfect time because they were pretty not very hands-on, I guess. And we didn't have to design parts and stuff. Well, you didn't have to design parts on. So the
testing videos are plenty hands-on. They're just kind of flow more and have more of a template to them than a lot of our other videos.
Yeah, they're more process-ized, I guess I should say. They're more hands-on because we got to do the test. But they were kind of at the perfect time because I could just fit those in to my day and get the test done. And it's been fun. As a kid that grew up on Mythbusters, I've loved it. It's like I feel like I'm like kind of like doing my own little Mythbusters things.
Yeah. What was your favorite Mythbusters episode? Do you have one of your favorite ones on that?
I liked when they did the MacGyver kind of remake. Yeah. That was a good one.
Did you watch the actual real MacGyver back in the old days, or just that version of the videos from Mythbusters?
A little bit. My uncle was super into that show, and he kind of like showed me it a little bit, and kind of taught me the love for MacGyver. But it wasn't like it was a little before my time. little bit.
That's fair. Yeah, it's like 88 or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Or like late 80s, early 90s or so was,
Yeah.
it might be. It's Cold War stuff. I don't know what. It was before all of our times.
Yes. Yeah. No, what a show though. Yeah.
Yeah. I tried watching those once a couple of years ago. They're pretty formulaic. You're like, oh yeah, he's got the thing, and he's in the hole, and he finds a widget, and he gets out, and that's the whole story. There's not. I can't really say that there was a huge amount of drama or a huge amount of questioning of what was going on. Fun show, nifty to see the things, but it's like, pretty formulaic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, was it like a chronological show? Like, was it serial?
No, it was like Monster of the Week thing or Spy of the Week thing or whatever else it was. Like, here's your mission.
Self-contained episodes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they had a big arc to them ever.
Yeah.
I think they tried on the new one. I think they tried to do that. Like they had to have some overarching villain because they remade it in like 2008 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And all the free streaming services try to push that one towards you on a fairly regular basis because I don't think it's a highly desired property.
Probably not.
Especially
people lining up for that.
But anyhow, the testing videos, but we're trying to figure out actually how to do more of that stuff because we were talking about like the fireworks version of the video. We're looking for a responsible way to get a hold of some explosives to do some good quality testing on all this stuff.
Yeah, that's the one everyone wants to see.
Yeah. We're in Idaho. We can get a hold of fireworks anytime we want to, but like even M80s is starting to get a little bit scarce. Even here in good old Idaho and neighboring areas. So we haven't figured out how to do that. And we don't have enough fingerless uncles who are just going to come by. Like I got the good ones stored up in my attic.
I got boxes of them.
Yeah. Chris, since you're here, how would you describe our normal video production process?
I feel like we've got everything pretty processized at this point. So usually, what's that?
Really?
I think so. Like the design for videos are usually pretty
that's true.
Consistent in the workflow. And the real products videos, same kind of thing.
We've got like the 3 big winning kind of series that we keep on rolling back, and then like the experimental one in between. And when we test stuff out, that's usually when it kind of breaks that flow a little bit. We kind of got to piece things together, but I feel like for the most part, we kind of know what our flagship video series are, and we've gotten those nailed down pretty good. To where the workflow is just pretty smooth, and the expectation's always there. Right.
But the testing videos are kind of starting to get there. Definitely more.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a lot of fun to get into some of the newer tests that we had talked about and start introducing some new types of tests that we can do, especially if we can get some fireworks.
Yeah.
But no, it's always good. I feel like the workflow is always pretty much the same. Like we have kind of our content meeting where we talk about the next couple weeks and what we've got kind of tentatively planned, and then if it's like a design video, usually you can get me the CAD screen recordings and the files and everything, and then go in and we set up the camera and record everything, and then after that it's pretty much just the editing process, which is that kind of changes every between stuff, but even that, it's B-roll clips of whatever the product is that we printed, showing the CAD off. That's about it. I feel like we've done a good job at getting everything pretty nailed down.
The way you described it sounded way better than I had like visioned in my mind and that kind of stuff. Because a lot of folks, I guess we've gotten better at like getting a good piece of the content together like a week before, but very often the video is edited the day before we post it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
very often the filming of like the talking head part and that kind of stuff is done like the morning of the day that the edit is happening or whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're very just in time. We're just like the print farm itself, just making it when we need it, just feeling the whirl where the wind takes us. But no, yeah, you said it made it all sound like pro.
That's the marketing.
Exactly. Good. Exactly right. Yeah. But no, yeah, the channel's been a lot of fun to mess with over the last year because it's been nifty to push out a product every couple of days to where we're constantly evolving on it. Because while we've got these 3 main series, we made like 150 videos or so before those kind of really started gelling.
Yeah, we did actually. I forget how long that kind of experimental first phase kind of was. Well, yeah, that was a good couple months, and I mean the rate at which we published videos, that's a lot of videos.
And we're slower now. We still haven't gone back to like full peak because last year when we started doing YouTube seriously last October, or no, the October before last now. And said, okay, we're going to do a video a week. And we started doing them with just basically a selfie cam or whatever it was and editing them and trying to think about thumbnails a bit. Right. And then we started to see a little bit of traction so that we then moved into the studio. Well, no, the studio was a long time after we started doing that stuff. So,
that was in January of last year.
Really? No.
Yeah.
Really?
After Christmas season. Yeah. That was when we got the studio all set up.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did we let all of wow? Did we? Wait a second. Yeah, we have only been doing.
Yeah, all of 2022 was.
It was 2022. Oh man, I forgot how. Okay, we were publishing videos then longer than last October. We became serious about YouTube then last October. Yeah. Because I was like, no, we were still doing YouTube while we were moving into the mega farm and that kind of stuff, though, too.
Yeah.
Which has been.
We did a couple of videos at the old space.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we filmed the move, the tours, and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I don't even remember that era of it all now. It's like, whatever.
It's so long ago now.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, we decided to officially focus on YouTube the October before last, where it's like, okay, we're going to analyze this. We're going to push on a button and see what happens over here and see what the cause and effect of this is, other than just posting content to kind of have information about the company online, which is kind of what the other videos were about. They were about explaining certain topics so that we could send it to a client and there was an immediate point of reference. We started becoming YouTubers last October. And then to where we're opened up to just pure content for content's sake and making it its own kind of product and idea. Yeah. Still super constrained within that. Because when we started, the rules always were for the Slant 3D channel, any video we make has to be useful to a client. Correct. And that's kind of the first filter that it goes through of can a person watch this video and meaningfully better understand how the process works? Or have some sort of intuition, or can we send this across to somebody who's thinking about using mass production 3D printing and have them get something from it? Right. And that was super irritating at the beginning because we were all we could review 3D printers and all the rest of it. There was all this kind of low-hanging fruit that we didn't give ourselves. We had this conversation many times. So there's this really easy video right there that we can't do. Yeah. Because it doesn't fit on the channel. Right. We knocked on a few of those when we were doing the bed slinger. We were talking about one of our really popular videos was bed slingers are stupid. Yeah. That one was awesome. It was one of the good ones, but it's one of the ones that we kind of decided we probably shouldn't do because it's not useful. It's it's true. It's totally good information to have out there on the internet. Bed slingers are stupid. But in the context of helping a client, it doesn't really matter because it's explaining somebody how a shovel works when they're trying to order coal from you. They don't care. Give me a truckload of stuff. It's
that's a good point. It's a good way to put it.
Telling how the sausage gets made when it really doesn't matter. Somebody's down at the barbecue. It's
they're just hungry.
Yeah, exactly. So that constraint was tough at the beginning, but it was good because it helped us differentiate ourselves from everybody else.
Big time.
And
it kept us very in our own lane. And forced us to think about things a little bit more and try different stuff out. And I think that was really good because it differentiates us a ton. We get a ton of comments, and I'll see people post like our channel, suggest our channel on Reddit and stuff. And usually it comes with some sort of compliment of how different our content is compared to the usual 3D printing content. So that's
no, because we're lucky in that the fact that we have this kind of unique insight, and that it's not terribly common to have hundreds of machines in your back room or whatever it was right there. That's a unique advantage. But it's also it was amazing to me how many people cared about that concept. Because like when we set those projections of like 25,000 subscribers, we thought that was being generous, because it's like there's not 100,000 people who really care about 3D printing in the real world. Plenty of hobbyists and stuff out there who come through, they subscribe to a channel and they disappear. But like the Uber fans who would care about this sort of technical information, we were like, there's not enough out there to grow a large channel. But now we kind of are, because like view rates were similar to any other 3D printing or similar type of channel out there, corporate or otherwise. So thank you all again for the interest in this, because we didn't think that was going to be a thing, and it's a stroke of luck that it even was. Because you crazy people shouldn't care about this kind of stuff this much, or whatever it was, because this is a boring topic of how to manufacture a 3D printed part. But I thank you for watching.
Big time.
But the YouTube channel was also just a lot of fun for us too, because it fit kind of with what we did as a company. In the context of like 3D printing and iteration.
And trying things out, and just doing things a little bit differently than people usually do. Because I mean, we have this conversation a lot. It's amazing how few companies are leveraging YouTube the way that we kind of are. And, anytime I talk to people outside of work that, do marketing for other companies or run other companies, I always try to harp on them like, hey, like if you can make it happen, try to get on YouTube more and try to find a way to do it. Cause it's just such a great way to build a dedicated audience. And like, we've always talked about having, like fans instead of customers. More so. And I think, there's a lot of companies out there that just don't really understand how valuable that is. To just have a closer, more intimate relationship with the people you're, trying to serve.
And the value of the content as an actual product rather than as an ad, which is always a big disconnect for marketing companies or marketing teams or whatever it was. They're like, we got to tell them about the stuff. And it's like, no, you don't have to tell them about the stuff. Tell them, why should somebody watch your video? That is the only thing that matters if you're going to do content. Otherwise, go buy an ad and have everybody skip it after 3 seconds, like everybody does. But the amount of influence that we get from simply just making stuff that people want to watch is way more valuable than anything we could ever have before. If we were buying ads or something like that. And if anybody didn't know already, this entire channel is an ad, just very well executed. It's disguised. Yes, exactly. But we want, we always have to make sure that the content is useful, because nobody would watch it and nobody would want to be around it. And it's also just makes it more valuable, because an ad, if we like bought an ad and threw it out there, you have to buy the ad and then it's gone, and you scream into a can and throw it off a cliff, and then it's done. You've spent money on that ad and you figure out if it was worth it or not. Whereas videos, it becomes a body of work that builds on itself. And I always use like a compounded interest thing of like, each new video we add makes the rest of the videos more valuable. So it's a growing business asset. Unlike buying ads, which is just money going out the door that you say, that was part of the cost of making the thing. Whereas content, particularly on YouTube, just has inherent value, because you're making a TV show that's going to be here for as long as the world exists, because it ain't going nowhere. But yeah, so the value of it is just incredible. And it's something that you can keep on pushing on. Because like the reason we did YouTube rather than short form was because short form, well, I don't understand. You kind of cracked it on like reels and that kind of thing.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, long form is just it gives you more of a chance to build that relationship and show things off more and provide context. I feel like that's the big pitfall that we get into with shorts is that our content it requires a lot of context, and you can't really provide that amount of context in a 60-second video. So that's always kind of the struggle with the short form stuff and why we don't push on it a ton. Because it's just there's too much information to try and cram into that short amount of time. But the success that we have had on it has been great. Yeah, it's great for getting your stuff out there to a lot of people really quickly.
It gets a ton of subscribers and a ton of views. But I remember when we had our first big short, we like immediately afterwards, we kind of asked if we wanted to keep on doing it because quite frankly, the comments were garbage.
Oh, they were terrible.
And we were like, we did not want the subscribers. We did not want that version of humanity joining the channel, even though it brought in a bunch of subs.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, it was about the context, which I think we could probably get a little bit better at. It's kind of just getting used to the shorts because we've still done far fewer shorts than we've done of the long form videos on the channel because we've got 350 videos on the channel, but we've only done a few dozen shorts.
Yeah, not too many.
Yeah. So we could learn to be better at that. But again, it's screaming in a tuna can and throwing it off the cliff.
Yeah.
Yes, it turns into subscribers, but then the subscribers are so low quality that they jack up your comments and create like this vanity metric of like, we got more subscribers, but I don't know if any other YouTubers ever say this, but the subscriber count does not matter at all to the channel in any format. It gives you a testing audience. It gives you a group of people that YouTube has a higher probability of showing your stuff to.
Right. And people don't care. Yeah, there's definitely some value to it, but it's nothing like it was, back in the day where that was the metric,
Right. To where, every subscriber got your video update as soon as it came up. That only changed in 2016. Well, only 2016. 2016 is 7 years ago now, 8 years ago now. Holy cow. The apocalypse and the whole thing, the whole restructuring of YouTube was like 2015, 2016. Weird. Which was also the reason it took us so long to get to YouTube too. Because when we were thinking about it, we kind of thought it was crowded. And I still, quite frankly, don't understand why it's not. I think it's just because we're in such a niche industry. I wouldn't want to be in something like normal entertainment or, we talk about other projects like the news channel and that kind of stuff, differentiating them. And we're still fighting with that problem.
Yeah.
But you're in a situation of a death of 1,000 paper cuts to where you're either so niche that you have a super small audience, or you go so broad to where you can't get up above anybody else because nobody actually clicks on you because you're talking about, it rained again today or whatever generic news topic it is. So I'm surprised that people can be as successful as they are starting cold on YouTube, because as soon as you have a little bit of success, you would expect 10 other people to copy it and you all dilute yourselves and all just kind of split up the pieces and die. But the fact that people are still able to rise up and above, I don't know, is an indication of humanity, I guess, and the hopefulness that you can actually build something. Even though you've got 3 billion other people on the platform making videos or who could make videos.
I think we did just kind of hit that perfect fit of like a niche within a niche, or kind of combining two different niches to where, there wasn't a lot of competition out, but there was enough people out there that could potentially care about it. And so, we were super lucky in that sense.
That's true. We were a niche in a niche too. To have a niche in a niche that is large enough to have 70,000 subscribers and growing is still bananas.
Yeah, it's amazing. For sure. But I think it kind of did, there's probably a decent percentage of our subscribers who are outside of the 3D printing industry, who if we had been making just 3D printing content, they wouldn't have hopped on board because they probably don't care about 3D printing, but they lean more towards the engineering or the manufacturing side of things. And that's what kind of grabbed them. So
this is true.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess, there's ways to where we've been able to broaden out to where it's watchable for a greater audience than just how to change your nozzle on a printer. So if I was recommended anything to I can't talk. If I was recommending to anyone who wanted to start a YouTube channel, you have to start super niche. You have to find that MVP, that core thing where someone watches you on a regular basis. It's very easy to go from niche to broader. It's almost impossible to go from broader to niche, because if you have a really viral entertainment video, or like you're making Mr. Beast videos or that kind of thing, and you don't have like that core audience, as soon as you start focusing in on the things that work, you kill a bunch of your audience, which then you can kill the channel, because you like get this big old one hit, but then everybody who joins you doesn't come along for the ride because they don't know what you're about and you just have random stuff. Whereas if you have a niche, each new person you get sticks with you because they know what your product is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And this applies to like physical products too. It's like start with the smallest market you can. And then you can always go bigger. There's always a garden next door that you can move into and someplace else to kind of diversify into. But it helps you focus so that you don't have too many different inputs. Because like if we were making entertainment videos, the sky's the limit. You can make whatever the heck you want, and there's no way to contain them. I'm amazed that Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson over there, was able to do what he did with the way he did it, with generic entertainment kind of videos.
Yeah.
He could not make a video, not only because of budget, but like the videos he does right now, they're like just reality television for YouTube.
Right.
They're almost too generic to get attention if he didn't already have attention.
Yeah.
Because like his early viral ones were spectacles, very specific type of spectacles, like 1 million Orbeez in the backyard, or counting to 100,000, or what, all the things. Had a very single purpose-built point to him, to where you knew what you were getting. Like you were going to get some kind of a spectacle from a Mr. Beast video. And then, so people got on board for that, and that was his niche. And now he makes television that is broadly entertaining. Even though each one of them is very distinct from each other in a lot of ways. Because, we know it's competition. We know it's kind of like a Survivor show very often, but they're still very broad. And if you just pop that up on somebody's screen and you didn't know, it's a Mr. Beast video, you probably wouldn't click on it. Because you're like, it's another TV show doing whatever. It's a clip from Survivor or something.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to how well he has his brand nailed down. As soon as you see a Mr. Beast video, you can even see like just a clip from it, and he's not even in the clip, and you know it's a Mr. Beast video.
That's
you
true.
See his thumbnails, you know it's a Mr. Beast video. Like he's gotten it down so well, and I feel like his niche is kind of just scale, because no one can make a video as big as he does. That's kind of his. Yeah, he was the first one to really spend on YouTube, which was bananas to me too. The fact that it took until 2020 for somebody to spend $1 million on a YouTube video who wasn't making a YouTube video. Right. I think that just goes to show how much people undervalue YouTube and kind of just social media in general. I mean, everyone knows it's a good marketing tool, but I think very few people, like you were saying earlier, very few people look at a YouTube video as a product in and of itself. It's always, it's an ad for a lot of people, or it's, just a video. But looking at it as a product, looking at your YouTube channel as a company, I think that's something that hopefully we start to see more of, because it's worked for us. So.
Right. That's true. I think part of the problem with that too is like the impermanence of the internet. Everybody's gotten used to, you throw something up on the internet and then it disappears and you forget about it the next day and that kind of thing. Yeah. But YouTube and those types of pillars of the internet that are going to store it for forever. It's so weird. Yeah. Because you have phrases like, it's on the internet, it's there forever. It's emblazoned in stone. But no, if it's on the internet, it's gone tomorrow.
Yeah. At this point, there's so much.
Yeah. it's so buried in the ocean of it all, even though it's there and there forever and can always be found. It's not really. It's just, yeah, it's like compost for all the rest of it. It's just part of the circle of life. But nobody's tried to make stuff that has like, well, there's been a few channels that have tried to do it, but nobody's like become the Shakespeare of YouTube, to where like 100 years from now, people are still going to be watching those videos,
Right.
and making money off them, and from the licensing fees or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. That'd be hilarious. If Shakespeare had a YouTube channel and you get to AdSense for the next 500 years.
Stand to his estate.
Yes.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think that's kind of, and we're going to see even more and more of this like short-term staying power of social media, just because like the TikTokization of most social media platforms, everyone's going towards this short form where stuff has even less staying power than it did before.
Yeah. And I don't understand how you can do that from like a corporate standpoint, because I guess shorter, like, yeah, it's the shorter attention spans are all fine and dandy. We've got monkey brains and we want to chase it. But like, I would consider TikTok to be less sustainable than YouTube.
For sure.
Because again, it doesn't have another app comes along that's a little bit shinier and somebody moved to that. But YouTube has its thing, and it also has it has so much foundation in it,
right,
to where we couldn't switch. I mean, like, oh yeah, we could take our catalog and go somewhere else or whatever else it was, but like, would not really. Google's the second biggest search engine on the planet. It's not going anywhere. It's a piece of infrastructure almost at this point.
It is, yeah. The long-term staying power of your content is, I try to tell so many people, like I've got friends that try to do the whole content creator thing, and they're all trying to get on TikTok. They're all trying to get on Instagram. And I'm like, YouTube, there are not enough people flocking over to YouTube right now. And but your stuff lives forever. I mean, our Brits video still gets views, thousands of views every single day. And it probably will continue for the next, however long, 10 years.
Yeah.
And it'll come up in Google search. It will come up in YouTube search. I mean, people can actually seek out your content and find it, versus on Instagram, you can't really do that. You know, there's not keywords. I mean, you can kind of search stuff.
Yeah, but nobody does. I don't go looking up an old tutorial. I forget about it, and I hope it comes by again one of these days.
Exactly. Like anytime I search on either Instagram or TikTok, I'm looking for a specific account.
Right.
Rarely am I looking for just a broad general term that I can then find somebody new with.
Here's the question for you too. How many like Instagram or TikTok accounts do you know the name of? Do you have like an active memory?
Aside from like people I know personally, not a ton. I would recognize people. Like I recognize accounts, but I couldn't just think of them off the top of my head. And if I can, it's because I follow them because I subscribe to them on YouTube. That's how I found them.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. I have a completely different type of viewership, type of stuff that I view on TikTok than I do from YouTube. I don't have any cross-link on them at all, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting in that regard. But yeah, I'm like, that's why we don't like short form. It's like, how do you tell your friends about our content? You can't even remember the name of the guy who made it.
Right.
So you're like, there's this guy who does this thing on TikTok. It's really funny. And you're like, oh, I hope I see it one of these days or something like that. Or I hope my phone's listening to me and spying on me, so they recommend it or whatever it happens to be. But there's no way to, go find it and join this stuff of like passing. There's no human exchange of it other than, do you share videos on TikTok ever? I've never shared a video with anybody on Reels, TikTok, or anything else.
I'll send like memes to people or just stuff I kind of find funny in passing.
That's fair.
But that's about it.
That's fair.
I feel like a part of that is like it's so easy for, well, not easy, but so much more likely for somebody to make a video or post a video on TikTok and they get lucky, it gets caught in the algorithm and they blow up, and then their account's big. But because of that, you see a lot of accounts that don't really have like a brand or identity because it's just someone who got kind of lucky. Versus YouTube, you have to be very intentional with, and it's got to be very premeditated. And there's kind of a brand you build around your channel, and that's more recognizable than just John Apple, who just happened to have a video go viral, and he's like, oh, okay, I guess now I'm a TikToker. But that account name is just his name, John Apple 5 or whatever it is. Versus YouTube, you're intentional. You have to make brand decisions on what is my channel going to be called, what is my content going to be focused, if you want to be successful, right? There's not a lot of getting lucky on YouTube, I feel like.
There's less of it for sure. Because there's just so much. But this is true of like almost everything. It's just like you have to be willing to grind at it for a period of time, which is also why a lot of companies don't do it, because you don't see ROI on it for a year or more. You might not even see a blip of like return on views in it for several months or something like that. Because when we decided to commit to it, we didn't really have we had a couple of leading indicators that made us focus on YouTube. We had one client that came through that was pretty valuable to where we're like, we should do more YouTube, because if we can get one from what we've done so far, we should be able to get another if we do that again. But then also at the time when we were considering it, we were looking at Mr. Beast, and we were like, he went from nothing to 200 million subscribers. So YouTube still has fertile ground. There's still room to run on it. Which was kind of like the proof positive of like, okay, it's worth revisiting this. YouTube isn't on its way out being replaced by TikTok. It's still strong and has lots more room to go. But yeah, to your point though, too, of like having to get the reps in and not being able to get lucky with YouTube, that's almost sort of algorithmically baked into it. Because like the way we understand it, and again, YouTube is some fickle god. It can choose to do whatever it wants to, whenever it wants to. But theoretically, we believe that when you post a video, YouTube shows it to certain test audiences. And when you're brand new, it just shows it to random people based off your tags. And it's like, okay, the person clicked on it and the person viewed it had good engagement with it. I'll show it to another person, and we'll keep on trying demographics until we find out what your channel is about. Which is why it's so important to have your channel be consistent, because then YouTube knows, they're a gaming channel. I showed it to a gamer watched it. You made another gaming video, I'm going to show it to more gamers, and you can build on yourself that way. If you make disparate stuff, YouTube doesn't know where to start with, and it hurts you early on. You can still go viral, but it doesn't have a baseline to build momentum from. So like with us, with a subscriber base who generally likes 3D printing, take one of our videos, show it to the subscriber base, see how that video does, and then start showing it to broader and broader audiences. So yes, you have to define what your channel is, because number one, yes, it contains your content, but it communicates to YouTube what you're about. And as I say that all out loud, I've whined about this before, but that's like the first quantifiable definition of brand that I know of. YouTube might actually be able to value and define what a brand is. You really got to train it to understand what you do and who you're catering to. Really, at the end of the day, that's all it cares about. Is it's a very viewer focused platform. They just care about showing the people on there the best videos, the most relevant videos that they think that person's going to like. And if it has no idea who you are as a creator, it's going to have no idea who to show that to. And they're going to just view you and value you as nothing, Yes.
Because you don't help them accomplish their goal in any sort of way. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's an interesting platform. And I like that they're, for the most part, staying true to that idea, especially with, they're starting to push on the shorts more. They definitely want more of that. But I feel like it's not like Instagram, who's gone, completely to just another TikTok. So that's been nice.
Is interesting. The shorts and that kind of stuff on YouTube are interesting too, because both of us are millennials. We look at YouTube as the video platform, and then Gen Z has TikTok, and then we've kind of owned YouTube Shorts as like it's still part of us. But I was listening to a girl talking about, she runs the Duolingo TikTok account that has 8 million followers.
That's
it's a corporate channel that's done it well. But she was like, I asked my she's a Gen Z, and she said, I asked my nephew what he thinks of YouTube Shorts, because it seems like the Gen Alpha has taken on to Shorts.
Ah,
which is weird and interesting because TikTok's only
that is
like 40
interesting.
years old. But it's the fact that the YouTube shorts are almost ahead of the time or the next kind of variation or something like that
Interesting.
uh, on from TikTok. At least that's how she views it. Because she's like, I don't watch shorts, I watch TikTok, and millennials watch YouTube, but my little young 6-year-old nephew watches YouTube shorts. And
Interesting. Well,
that's
actually,
weird.
now that I think about it, that kind of does make sense because, like, you hear the term iPad kids a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
iPad kids are on YouTube. That was the whole push of YouTube Kids. So that's just the platform that they're comfortable with. And
This
their
is
parents
true.
probably have always tried to keep them away from TikTok and from Instagram because that's where like the toxic social media is. YouTube can stay pretty contained. So it's just probably more of a familiarity thing than
But
anything.
Gen Z were iPad kids too.
That's
They were the
true.
first. Yeah, well, yeah, they were all 10 when the iPad came out.
The younger
Um,
ones are, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just blended in generations then.
Yeah.
But
Because like
no, it's interesting.
I'm right on the cusp of millennial Gen Z. So there's people that are, a couple years younger than me who, yeah, I don't think I wouldn't consider them part of the iPad kid generation. So it's it's interesting how fast things move now and how you can't really uh categorize a generation too much. Like it's
Oh, we
almost
never could before.
oh, is that how it's always been? I
I
don't know.
think it's always
I was
been that way. I think the generations are totally arbitrary, and we all put ourselves into those groups because we just like the
right.
groups. But yeah, the blend has
It's too
always
big.
been there because it's like,
It
oh
spans too
yeah,
long in
the
time.
whatever the not the boomers. Well, no, it was the boomers. Oh yeah, they had Vietnam and they have all the money and so on and so forth, and that sort of categorization of it, and it's just not. It's sort of generally is kind of true of like
Yeah, there's
certain like
truth
parts
to
of
it.
distribution and stuff, but like yeah, where you can cut the line anywhere you want to.
Right.
And it's pretty much just yeah, every 15 years we got a new generation.
Yeah.
And when that one pops up, it's going to be like, I'm amazed how often I'm seeing posts about how to integrate Gen Z into the workplace. And I could have sworn like 3 years ago, all of those were like how to get millennials into the workplace. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we're 50% of the workforce right now, or like 60 or 70 of it, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
This is not new. We are the old people in the place.
Yeah.
And that was old. That only happened in like the last 3 or 4 years. So I don't know who all decided that now Gen Z is the problem, but whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the generation thing is all BS stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun to mess around with, and it's like, but it's useless.
Yeah. It gives people a point of reference. So I guess that's good.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
it should be treated a lot looser than it is.
Yeah. It is good to recognize the people of particular generations of what was going on there because it's like, oh yeah, millennials, they had the internet and computers. So those were present. And then yeah, Gen Z had smartphones for most of their life. So they understand mobile, but they have no idea what a chat room is. That kind of stuff. Because that helps to in the context of making content, it helps to understand who we're talking to. Because we talk to, oddly enough, 25 to 35-year-old males. 90, what is it? I think we passed 1% females on our audience demographics at one point. And that was like the big breakthrough because it was like literally 99.9% for a long time.
Yeah. Very well done.
Yes. But yeah, but knowing who those guys are, because quite frankly, we are one of those guys. We're in that generation. We know how to talk to them and have the communication and the type of stuff that they digest because we're digesting the same stuff. So it feeds on itself.
Yeah.
And there is value in having Natalia helps with the TikTok and that kind of thing. And she knows more about TikTok than you or I because she actually uses the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't. I literally sent her an email the other day that said, explain TikTok to me. And I was like, what is it right
she
now?
did bring that up to me. She's like, how
really?
do I do this? How do I explain TikTok?
Yes. I was on a binge last night at like 2 a.m. or whatever else it was. And I'm like, I don't know how to look at TikTok right now because I still have in my head 13-year-old girls doing dance videos on it. But that is like 2020 TikTok. And I know that's not what it is right now.
That's crazy.
So I got to get myself refreshed as we think about this because we have a project that we're doing a bunch of TikTok stuff for. And we kind of have to because it doesn't work for YouTube, at least so far. But so yes, I was asking her, I want a summary of what TikTok is today. How do you define what TikTok is today as a user?
Yeah. And see,
Um,
again, I think that's just the thing I can't really get behind TikTok for, is that it's just too fleeting. And I feel like that's why
that
no one
too.
can really like explain it, because it is just it changes so much.
Yes. But the only reason for the audience benefit, the only reason we're looking at TikTok and are considering short form at all is because TikTok integrated TikTok Shop, which means
Yes.
that you now have content focused product promotion to
Yeah.
where your content can actually result in a sale. And it works really well for TikTok because somebody can buy right there in the app. That's
Mhm.
the only reason we're doing it. Because from a standpoint of monetization or advertising or getting people in the door, we still consider TikTok to be basically useless unless you have an impulse buy item.
Yeah.
So we're trying to understand how to do that for impulse buy items because it's useful to our clients. It's useful to a lot of the projects that we work on. So that's the only reason we're doing TikTok in any sort of format. It's in the early stages of experimentation right now, to such a degree that, yeah, that literally we're slinging stuff at the. If you want to see something really cool about the evolution of a thing, look at our thumbnails on YouTube over the last 2 years, and you just see the iteration of it all, and like the missteps and the good moments and the rest of it, and how it's boiled down to a certain style that we have now.
Right.
The TikTok is in that same kind of mode where it's like literally quality comes from quantity. Get your reps in, do as
Yeah.
many of them as you possibly can, and then you find what hits and you start refining from there and morphing it into what your world view is or what your brand identity is. But there is no way that you're going to stare at a video and make it perfectly and it's going to go well. In fact, most of the time, those generally fail from our experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
We're
I
absolutely
like their move to go with the TikTok Shop. I feel like it finally gives them kind of a direction to like a motive.
Yes.
And
And
it
it makes
makes
them
it easier
totally
as a
distinct
content
from the
creator.
other platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes it easier as a content creator to, once you understand the platform you're on, once you understand their goals, it makes your job a lot easier because it takes the guesswork out of it. You know what their goal is, and that helps you make decisions to get on their good side or to be favorable in their eyes. So, but TikTok, I feel like just did not have a clear, well,
Yeah.
who knows what's going on behind the scenes, but that's a different topic.
Sure.
But yeah, they didn't have a very like forward facing, clear motive for people. So it was just like, what do what do you do? I've always looked at it as just a vehicle to get people to our YouTube. That's the only thing that's the only value I've ever seen in TikTok or Instagram Reels. Is it's just a way to update people that we posted something on YouTube and to try and get them over there. And that's not good for those platforms because they don't want us taking people to YouTube. So,
which means it's unsustainable for us to do it that way because they're going to try to jerk it out from under us at some point.
Exactly.
So you'd be building your house on sand if we made that like a fundamental part of the model.
Right.
Right. But to your point though, too, of like getting to know the platform so well, that's what a lot of people misunderstand too. Is like post Facebook, post Twitter, post to TikTok, get the things out, get the 5 platforms. I've got the short cross posted everywhere. Don't do that. Just do the one platform, post a ton of stuff on it until you understand what it is. And then you can actually be good at it. And then again, the super uber focus, and then you can differentiate later. Because once you understand one, then a lot of the rules start to cross promote. But if you're looking at all of them, you have so much information coming at you that there's no way to define and understand what any one of them is actually doing. They start to become a monolith of like, oh, social media, you do this stuff, but that's a totally useless idea. Whereas, no, YouTube, you do this, and TikTok, you do this, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Social media, nothing. It's each one of these fickle gods.
Yeah. You really have to look at them as their like own, like self-contained thing.
Piece of expertise.
Really, yeah, exactly. And cater use it as a new avenue to pursue a completely different type of content. Rather than, I feel like, a lot of people try to build this ecosystem of all their social media accounts and try to keep them all like feeding into one another. And that's just, it doesn't work like that. Because none of the social media giants want that to be the thing. They want to dominate. So you really got to tailor everything to its specific platform. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people misunderstand about social media. The whole trickle down marketing, or whatever the Gary V mindset is of you do your podcast up here, and then you get your shorts from it, and then those turn into Twitter threads, and it all just bleeds down. But I don't know, it's amazing to me that it's worked out for as many people as it has, because
it's doable when you get to a certain piece of scale. Because we're starting to do that, because we finally have enough people around to be able to do it. But when you have limited time and resources, you got to put them in a very specific spot. The whole trickle down of chopping it up and moving it around, being efficient. We're going to create 50 pieces of content here in an hour from this one podcast.
Right.
There's just not the bandwidth available to do that when you're starting out, and you're just taking time away from editing a better or another YouTube video so that you get twice as smart about YouTube. You're just diluting yourself across all these other things and doing. Again, that girl who was talking about TikTok, she was like, "You're doing Happy Earth Day posts, which are completely generic, like, oh yeah, Happy Earth Day, we just posted a new video," which again is not content anybody wants to see. It's not a product that anybody wants.
That's just an advertisement.
Yeah, exactly. But anyhow, we could go on about this for quite a while, but quite frankly, we were doing this as a test of the podcast, guys, because we're going to be doing more interviews, and I'm seeing a red light flashing on one of our core pieces of tech that we're doing these podcasts with. So in order to cut this a little bit short, and at least be at the hour and a half or so, I think, we're probably going to have to end it right there. But we're getting the high sign from some of the experimental stuff that we're doing right now. So we're probably going to have to cut it right there. But comment down below, guys. Thanks, Chris, for coming on, and I'll see you in like 2 minutes. Comment other topics that you guys want to see or have us discuss and that kind of thing, or other video topics that you want to see on the channel as a whole. And of course, if you've made it all the way through to here, you probably already are, but I'm going to ask anyway, like and subscribe. Have a great day, everybody.